what it means to trust. Can you really trust what you don't believe? Trust can be explained to mean the firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, and strength of someone or something. Trust is complex. For example, your willingness to embrace the advice of a group of strangers because you believe that they know the truth, or that they will tell you the truth as that at least they know it. It could mean believing someone does have your best interest at heart. This can also depend on their trust in you, who you are, what you're talking about, or what you've done. What does it really mean to trust? Trust can be an interesting subject to explain. Trust as a word is used a lot, from the news to business brand adverts. But we do not frequently think about how trust works and why it's so important in our lives. Trust allows us to overcome uncertainty, to be vulnerable, to try something new or do something differently this time. It's a vital bridge between the known and the unknown. But if it is so complex, why then is the definition usually so simple? Trust is an integral part of relationships, including romantic partnerships. In spiritual, religious, family, business, political relationships. If you don't trust your therapist or your doctor, it can be much harder to benefit from their professional advice. So trust, what is it to you? To me, trust is a set of behaviors, such as acting in ways that depend on another. Trust is a belief in a probability that a person will behave in a certain way. Trust is the mental attitude toward a proposition that someone is dependable. Trust is a feeling of confidence and security that a partner cares. Trust is a complex neural process that binds diverse representations into a semantic pointer that includes emotions. Behaviors and verbal expressions are evidence for trust. For example, when someone treats you nicely. Trusting people may involve estimations of probabilities of how they will behave, but people usually trust others without any understanding of probability or any precise predictions about their actions. Consider the simple case of a romantic relationship between Bailey and Wilson, where Bailey trusts Wilson to buy groceries. For this structure to operate in Bailey's brain, Wilson needs to have a representation of self, which in turn is built out of a binding of current experiences, memories, concepts. Bailey's representation of self needs to be bound with a representation of a person trusted, requiring a combination of verbal representations such as gender and sensory representations such as visual appearance. Even with just representations of the self and the person trusted, trust requires bindings of bindings and bindings that help incorporate representations of situations and emotions. To trust truly, one should have a few things in place such as boundaries, reliability, accountability, non-judgment, and some others that we'll go over. What do you think of boundaries? To trust someone, it's essential to be clear about our boundaries so that others can understand and respect them. It's also important that we understand the boundaries of others as well so that trust can be mutual. Reliability. Reliability is when someone does what they say they are going to do, when they are going to do it, over and over again. Reliability usually builds gradually. At work, this can mean that if you commit to more than you can manage, you may end up unable to finish it all, or we finish it at a lower level of quality than we could otherwise have. This then affects our reliability factor and the trust others have for us. The diminishing of reliability that happens when someone can't deliver on their commitments or their word can transfer to personal life. An example could be when you meet a person and then you'll say you'll give them a call sometime when you actually have no intention of calling. That's unreliable. Accountability. Trusting based on accountability. This is where you trust and allow people who own up to their mistakes, apologize, and make amends. Accountability goes both ways in a relationship where when we make mistakes, we need the other person to give us the opportunity to acknowledge them and make amends. Integrity. Integrity can be about choosing courage over comfort, what's right over what's fun, easy or trendy. Integrity is living according to our values. When a person lives with integrity, they not only build trust with others, they also build trust within themselves. Non-judgment. Non-judgment is all about being vulnerable with someone without being judged by them. On the flip side, with non-judgment, others can be vulnerable with us but not be judged by us. This can be difficult to undertake because people tend to be better at giving help than asking for help. In fact, it's common for people to feel better about themselves when they are helping others, but think less of themselves when seeking help. Trust, like with many things, does have an opposite: mistrust. Mistrust is an emotional process that goes far beyond the estimation of low probabilities about people doing what they are actually supposed to. Mistrust stems from the combination of cognitive appraisals about unsatisfied goals and unpleasant reactions people or maybe their first impression on you have. Mistrusting someone is not just about the prediction of betrayal, but also about an emotional feeling evoked by the supposedly untrustworthy person.